Joe the First is a cruel dictator who rules his country with complete control. Whenever he wants something, everyone rushes to please him. Okay. And since people who complain are banished forever, Joe's frightened servants treat his every wish like a wise and noble choice. To most people watching, his rule seems cruel and unfair. But his beloved son JoJo does not see any problem. This life is all JoJo has ever known, and he never sees any fear from Joe's subjects or any violence against them. All JoJo sees is his father's power and his subjects' obedience and praise. After spending his whole childhood in the castle, JoJo grows up to take his father's place in his style of rule. And just like with Joey, it is clear that JoJo's actions are wrong. But his case raises a question about morality that can also help explain less extreme cases. Given JoJo's unusual upbringing, is he fully morally responsible for his actions? Philosophers Gary Watson and Harry Frankfurt would say yes. According to their deep self-view, people are morally responsible for actions that come from their true self, meaning actions that show their deepest values and commitments. They believe people are less morally responsible for actions done under the influence of outside forces, such as committing a crime under pressure or while drunk. But JoJo has no such excuse. His actions come from his values, and because of that, deep self-theorists would argue that he is responsible for them. But what if JoJo's values have been damaged? JoJo may be a monster, but he was raised in a very unusual environment. Is he really just as responsible for his crimes as someone who had a normal childhood and then became a cruel dictator? And if JoJo is not to blame for who he is, how can we blame him for what he does? This is the argument of philosopher Susan Wolf, who created JoJo's case. Wolf believes that even though JoJo's actions do reflect his deep self when deciding moral responsibility, we also need to think about how someone's deep self came to exist. And in JoJo's situation, Wolf believes that even if JoJo is acting on his own values, his upbringing makes him less responsible for his cruelty. Wolf's logic seems pretty reasonable in JoJo's case. But if everyone's deepest values are shaped by their upbringing, does that mean nobody is responsible for their actions? This is the view held by incompatibilists. These philosophers believe that if everything is already decided by factors like our environment or biology, then no one is truly morally responsible for anything. By contrast, compatibilist philosophers argue that even if our decisions are the unavoidable result of past events, we can still be held responsible for them. The debate between these groups has been going on for centuries, but Wolf created JoJo's case to focus on a different question. Unlike most people, JoJo had no real chance to learn right from wrong. And since he continues to be cruel, even as an adult, it seems JoJo also lacks the ability to think about himself and change his values. To Wolf, this shows that JoJo lacks basic moral competence. If he does not know right from wrong and can no longer learn the difference, surely it is wrong to fully blame him for his actions. But this argument raises another important question. Even with this terrible upbringing, was JoJo's moral incompetence truly unavoidable? Let's imagine JoJo had a sister who was raised in the same environment but developed different values. If JoJo rejected their father's tyranny, this suggests that JoJo could have done the same, an outcome that seems to increase his moral responsibility. In the same way, what if a rebel court member tried to teach young JoJo about justice and morality, but he still chose tyranny? Just as Wolf argues, it seems that the more chances JoJo has to develop moral competence, the less we can excuse his actions. In the end, it is up to you to decide. How should we determine moral responsibility? And is JoJo's tyrannical nature truly unavoidable, Or can our understanding of right and wrong rise above our upbringing?